Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast, and we've got play-up props here for you guys on a Thursday with just 2 games to choose from. But we're going to continue to stay hot on these play-up props as Nate and I went another, 3-1 last night, looking at about 6-2 the last 2 nights, and even around the same that for the last 3 nights. So we'll continue to, we told you we're going to get it together with the player props and get these units way up for you guys. So we'll continue to trudge along doing that with you on just 2 games tonight. Quick look at how we did last night. I just did want to say, what about 3-1? So that was up about 1.35 units on the night, which was a very nice haul for us. So tonight, like I said, 2 games. Also have a best bets video up for you. Continue to follow along by liking and subscribing to that page. Also want you to head to thelines.com. Use that odds finder tool, prop finder tool that we have up there. You can make sure you're getting the best bets available to you and the best odds available to you from all these books, giving us props this season. Nate, let's go ahead and get right into your first NBA player prop for tonight.
Yeah, I'm going to take Mikal Bridges to lead the Nets, but not necessarily taking his points. That 23.5 is the points prop, and I threw a 20-plus points into a same-game parlay in the best bets, but I would rather, if just betting props here, go 8.5 rebounds and assists. I think he's a guy who you can count on for about 21, 5, and 5 on average, and I think this is a little bit low in terms of peripheral stats, even though, yeah, we're talking about a game with a low total, a game that could be at low pace. But, I mean, Bridges has still hit this in 7 of his last 9 games, and the ball's going to be in his hands a lot more with Cam Thomas out. I mean, we see the usage spike a lot in 11 games with the Nets without Cam Thomas. He's over 30% usage. He's at 35% in his last 2. But in this situation, I think it's going to be more of a playmaking role because interesting that Miami actually gives up the 2nd most assists per game at home and 5th highest assist field goal ratio overall, right? They make you work for your shots. They're not going to let you just ISO up and get easy looks, and you can't expect Mikal Bridges to just dominate his matchup with Jimmy Butler. No, he's just going to be the guy they're playing through, getting the Nets 3-point attempts because they're taking a ton in their last few games. And also, on the other end, being a plus rebounder because, Cam Johnson, your 4 now, is a taller dude than Mikal Bridges, but I think Mikal Bridges is a better rebounder for sure. And I mean, the Nets playing small lineups around him often with Lonnie Walker, maybe Tariq Whitehead. So I mean, he's being asked to go down there and mix it up. His rebounding rate is up to 15% this year on the defensive end. His assist rate is up to 16.5%. And since Cam Thomas went down in the middle of that Clippers game, you saw both numbers really spike. 31% assist rate, 21% defensive rebound in that particular game. Miami, similar kind of hard-nosed defensive team that's well coached. But I think Bridges will, the Iron Man who plays 35 plus minutes every single night will get those stats.
Yeah, I think it's so funny because when we talk about the Brooklyn Nets right now, we include Cam Thomas and his absence in every piece of analysis because he's such a dominating force in a basketball game. And I would guess that a lot of casual fans still don't know who Cam Thomas is. You have to be pretty casual at this point, but that's sort of his star power versus his impact on a game. It's they're not directly the same. It's outweighs his star power in terms of how much because it's a lot of not assisting, right? It's a lot more one-on-one basketball with Cam. He doesn't really need you to give him the ball to get in a spot to put up a shot that he likes because he's never met a shot that he didn't like. And I say that with heavy respect because nothing but love for Cam. But yeah, I think the assists actually go up for a guy like Mikal when he is expected to play make a little bit more because there's not just instant offense that you can just add water and stir in terms of Cam Thomas. So I'm going to go ahead and take us over to keep us in this game rather. Sorry, I'm going to start with Jaime Jaquez because I want to talk about Jaime Jaquez. I've been waiting to talk about him, and he only gets time so far this season. He's been hurt here and there, but he gets time when guys like Tyler Hero are not playing. So I don't have a prop for him while we're talking about this, which I know upsets some people, including Nate. It's annoying, I get it, but I do have numbers for you. If it is at 9.5 or lower, I would take an over. If it is at 13.5 or higher, I would play an under. And if it's anywhere between 10.5 and 12.5, I'm probably just leaving it alone. I know I am because I think that's about what he's that's where he should end up, is right at about 11, 12 points. And I do think that the sample size of him playing without Jimmy Butler, him playing without Tyler Hero in either of those situations this year, which has happened 3 times without Jimmy, twice without Tyler, really everything spikes, right? And he's sort of the fourth banana. So as soon as one of those guys is out, he's the third banana, and his minutes just go up from the 18 a game that he's played in 8 games where he was playing with Tyler Hero and Jimmy Butler, and then that goes up to 34 and a half minutes in the basically 3 games he's played without one of those guys playing alongside him. The points per game go up from 6 to 16 points per game. The rebounds go up, basically everything doubles, and the assists as well. So like the usage as well is what goes up as pretty highly, 16% with them and 20.5% without them. It's like 5 field goals versus 13 field goal attempts, right? It's just way more shots available for him. Now, I also know that you brought to my attention Caleb Martin could make his debut tonight, and they are somewhat similar. Caleb Martin's way more of a guard. Obviously, Hawkins is going to be guarding bigger guys, banging down low a bit more as more of like a stretch 4, if you will, for him, as opposed to like really a shooting guard for Caleb Martin, which is, and whatever, small forward, however you want to put him there. But I don't know that they're necessarily going to steal from each other in terms of the points category. I don't really even know what to expect from Caleb Martin. It definitely throws a bit of a wrench in things if he's going to steal usage or minutes from Jaquez. But I don't think that they're going to be doubling down on the same kind of stuff together in a way that they can obviously even just play alongside each other. The shots and the threes right now, I would much rather have Jaime Jaquez shooting a 3 than Caleb Martin, who hasn't really played basketball much since the finals. So yeah, I mean, look, there's some fear, and I think it's still a viable underplay if it gets up to 13 and a half. Like, it's not just like, oh, stay away from it if it's above 9 or 9.5. It's like, no, there's opportunity for an under here once you get to 13 and a half and higher, because of the fact that like this is a very good team at defending exactly what Jaime Jaquez wants to do in his style of play. He's a big athletic wing who's strong and oftentimes creates mismatch problems and can shoot. I just named like 4 dudes on the Brooklyn Nets, right, who can also defend exactly what it is that they're trying to do in terms of big stretch wings, shoot, athleticism, can guard multiple positions, etc. He didn't really do much last game against them because he had only got 19 minutes because of the 4 fouls that he was in. He was also just 1 for 9 from the field. However, I would point out that Ben Simmons was guarding him for the majority of that game, and that was never going to work out well for Jaime Jaquez. Simmons is out for this game, so it's going to be a lot more probably looking at some Cam Thomas, like you mentioned, and some DFS, who I don't like that matchup for Jaquez either, but I think you could probably exploit Cam Johnson a little bit more than he could DFS. That's, something that I think is going to be opportunistic for him. So,
yeah, I mean, clearly a lot of unknowns, not knowing the prop here. I think, yeah, I would need it to be 9.5 or lower to take it. Caleb Martin did play in the first game this season, only 20 minutes. We don't really know how healthy or available he's going to be, although he is technically available. But this is Miami Heat injury report, so take everything with a grain of salt. And Duncan Robinson playing out of his mind. I mean, so is Jaquez. So I don't really have a problem with saying he'll get 10 points, even though it is kind of a tough matchup with DFS, Royce O'Neal being thrown at him.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, if the number is too inflated when it does come out, fine with the under as well. So I will take OKC here. Jalen Williams, actually, not SGA, for half the points, over 15.5 points for J-Dub, where he's averaging 17 on the season, 21% usage rate. And we saw one example of him playing without SGA against this Warriors team.
He did.
And, I mean, showed improved playmaking, but basically the same usage rate. So it's not like a situation where you say, oh, SGA's in there, he's just going to stand in the corner. Like, no, you're seeing some real sophomore growth in terms of Jay understanding how to cut. 47% of his field goals are assisted. That's way up from his rookie year. And how to draw fouls. Also, refs just actually give you foul calls when you're not a rookie anymore. So he's up 1.5 free throw attempts per game. And the Warriors are dead last in free throws allowed in their last 5. Also allowing the 5th fewest 3-point attempts, which is great for Jalen Williams, who, again, doesn't take many threes, does shoot a high percentage when he does, but is just really strong attacking the rim. With no Draymond, easier path to the rim. Warriors are going to have to sacrifice some rim protection to get some offense here. I don't know how much they can play Looney without Steph Curry out there. So I think, he can get 16 points. He has 18 plus in 3 of his 4 meetings with these Warriors, including last time out this season. And I just think at this stage in his career, he's more of a savvy scorer.
Yeah, I get that. I think I do think Looney's going to have to play. I don't think that necessarily messes up your bet at all, to be honest. Who's going to get rebounds for this team if Kevon Looney's not out there? It's terrifying to think about. Like, they already had a size problem. They now have a way worse size problem than they had without Draymond, who, standing at probably like 6'6", if we're being honest, still plays like he's 6'10", like we've always known. So that's going to be a big problem for them. And once these Thunder players get into the lane, kind of do what they want at that point. I think the points and assists is also good for him. We took the points and assists for him last time, by the way, because Shai wasn't in when they played the Warriors in OKC, and that worked out very well with the 8 assists that he had. Also had the 18 points. The assists, obviously, not something you want to take when Shai's in there controlling the ball more, but yeah, absolutely fine with over 15 points in a game. I thought about it for him or Chet. Like, I could see Chet also kind of eating into his thing. That's why I stayed away from either of them in this one. He's a good bet though. Like, I'd probably put more like a half a unit on it just to get involved in the action of one of my favorite players in the NBA. But let's finish things off with an under here for Jimmy Butler. Might seem counterintuitive. I'm going under 5.5 assists for him against this Nets team, and I'm putting a full unit on that. But like, this seems mispriced to me, set everything. The 5.5 assists, if him getting 6 assists, like he's done that once this season in the 9 games that he's played. It's not really like he's been an assist man, even dating all the way back to the playoffs last season, where he averaged well under 6 assists in the finals and in the Eastern Conference Finals. So he's only got 8 potential assists per game. Like, I don't really see him looking to set guys up the way that you might think, when he gets onto the low block or the low wing and the baseline, basically, and works from there, like, and then it gets cutters going down the lane. I know he likes to do that, but we haven't seen that nearly as much. We also haven't had the same cutters that we saw on his team last year, with Max Strus being one of those guys that love to get into there and get into the lane, obviously, as well as now who am I completely spacing on that they had last season? Either way, another athlete that I'm totally losing my mind about. But and Caleb Martin hasn't been out there as well. That's part of the problem for this season for Jimmy. But without Hero, like, I don't know, maybe there's some idea that he's going to be more of like the facilitator. But Kyle Lowry's also been getting plenty of time out there and has more potential assists than Jimmy per game. By the way, he's up to 12. Jimmy's still at the 8 when he plays, and Kyle's getting fewer minutes for sure. Without Hero last year, in a pretty good sample size, he jumped up from 5.2 to 5.5 assists per game. So it's not like he just becomes a facilitator. If anything, like this choppy Miami offense just doesn't allow him for many opportunities. Like, they haven't really been this like swing it around and keep everybody off their toes kind of team without shooters like Strus or Vincent. Haven't had Martin in there, etc. Now it's like more like Josh Richardson is out there, right? And you're a lot less scared of him shooting and getting getting open shots against you. So he's had 6 assists once in his last 8 games versus Brooklyn. So like, it's not like he's really looking to do that. He's definitely much more of a facilitator. He often has, he has any combination of like Mikal and Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, all these guys rotating on him somewhat evenly, actually, in that first matchup as well. And his usage just tells me he continues to look for a shot. He's coming off a 32% usage and then a 25% usage before that. 5 of his last 6, he's had at least a 24% usage, which just leads me to believe he's shooting more in a game that it'd probably be pretty slow. We don't really like a ton of points in this one. Obviously, the total is pretty low. These two teams know each other well and play defense against each other very well. So yeah, assists don't seem like they're going to be very easy to come by for Jimmy. I'll take under 6.
Yeah, it's a good find. Yeah, I would have guessed it would be 4.5. With not plus money on the under, even, because Jimmy is not a playmaker. He's not the lead playmaker on this team. You didn't even mention Bam, who is point center extraordinaire for Miami. Sure. And in the one game Jimmy had 6 assists, Bam had 10 against the Lakers. It's just so it's the Lakers kind of just not playing good team defense. Brooklyn's been playing excellent defense the last 3 games here. And Bam, has 14 assists in his last 3. I would rather take an over on him, considering he might not have as much an easy time scoring on Nick Claxton, but he'll still be catching the ball at the elbow, facilitating, and getting the ball to guys. I think you even saw Kyle Lowry go out last game, and Jimmy did not get this total. So it's not really a 1-to-1 situation for Miami. Like, who's the point guard? Jimmy's going to be the main ball handler. Like, yeah, it's a little more complex than that.
Yeah, it's a lot more like Denver or Sacramento's offense of like, Bam playing the center playing around the top of the foul line and stuff like that. It's fun to watch, man. He's become really freaking good at that. He was really good in the playoffs last year as the guy with the ball in his hands, but that's the only person on the Heat that I would feel comfortable outside of like a small Jaime Jaquez, like a low points line there. Bam's the only one with the way that he's had the ball in his hands for dominating the offense for Miami. He's the only one I'd feel comfortable with any type of over with these offensive stats. So that is all the time we have for you in Play a Props, though. Continue to follow along. Much bigger slate on Friday with lots more to choose from, but a couple fun games tonight that we'll be watching, I'm sure, as well as that Steelers-Bengals game. So continue to follow along, like I said, and until we see you next, happy betting.